At this point, what I felt naturally came next was to share my experience and understanding of distracting certain parts of myself, fiddling things in the rug. So, understanding experience of the oversoul and the quickening. When I had the big awakening event, when I had started to learn to become a conscious channel and all of that, I met up with the one who was supposed to play my twin flame in this life. My other videos covered the whole twin flame experience and soul contract that was involved. And that one wanted to give me the key that we agreed to swap certain keys, and they wanted to be done with it. It's over with. They didn't want to play out the twin flame experience in this life because it was termed. It would come to an end. They didn't. Now I realize that it wasn't necessarily that they were afraid. They didn't like the idea of my separating from them as a couple, human beings, but that maybe because they didn't want the separation on the soul level, because he gave me my oversoul name, and that is a Cheyenne. And something in me just went, woo, lightened. There was strong recognition when he said that name. And he did convey to me what my oversoul looks like on the non-physical plane. It's a beautiful crystal with a woman in it. A beautiful woman. And when expressing in this physical form, it is like water that just flows with everything and around everything. And I very much do identify with liking, needing, and wanting to flow. I'm very close to water. I deprived myself of swimming and being in water because it hurt too much to get out of the water, because I want to stay in the water. I have had an experience of living water in my non-physical self. So I learned my oversoul, and I can feel its presence when I open up to it. But because we're doing this work, I don't fully embody it at this point. When I was living in Ohio, I had my then youngest daughter, who was... Alright, now I have to get chronologically orientated. At the time, she was my youngest daughter, and I was living just with my oldest daughter and my husband at the time. And I was out in the yard. We were playing, and I knew something was happening, and I stopped. And I didn't see bushes and trees and things moving, but I was aware that I was standing still, but reality was moving around me. I was moving through reality, or reality was moving through me. And my daughter, she must have been 2 or 3 at the time, and she latched onto my leg. This is how I know it wasn't my imagination, but this is probably part of her experience that might have caused her to be experiencing dissociative identity disorder. She latched onto me, Mommy, don't leave. And when I asked what this experience was, I got the word quickening. I didn't know anything about quickening or what it meant, except for those Highlander movie series, there can be only one. They chop each other's heads off. And I became aware nobody's head got cut off, but a young woman in the Middle East had a traumatic experience, and a certain amount of energy or consciousness that was in her was shifted into me. And so I gained more consciousness. And she went off at a level of consciousness where she was a public figure for combating the, injustice done to women over there in the Middle East. So I know that with an oversoul, it can have more than one incarnation. It can put its consciousness into more than one human being, and then it can shift attention and focus of that consciousness and isolate it in another human being. I also know that my oversoul, a Shayne, is the feminine aspect of a greater consciousness, a greater soul. And that the masculine aspect does not want to merge in this lifetime. It kind of doesn't have a choice. And so I imagine, and I believe it's possible, that that human being who I interacted with is not going to come back as my twin flame fully integrated and all of that. And I remember listening to Abraham Hicks was answering a question about a twin flame and said, just wait, see what pops out of the bushes. And I liked that idea because I'm aware that my masculine has been choosing vessels to interact with me in. And it'll play out the scenario, like what the masculine needs. And I become aware of the arguments, the debates, the battles, of the sorting of qualities, what would make this person a better vessel for the masculine expression of the soul from which it, the masculine, I don't have a name for, and Shayne, which I identify with being a part of its soul. What that integration is going to look like, whether it will be another human being that I join up with as two fully integrated expressions of the one oversoul, I don't know. It could just be this vessel alone interacting with others. But throughout all of this, all of my spiritual development and over the years, I became aware of like a picture of couples arranged, 12 couples. And then those would be surrounded by, 24 couples, that sort of thing. But now being exposed so much to the transgender community and all of that, that leaves that up to question. It doesn't have to be couples. That's just what we're used to seeing. And the reason for the male and female is because the masculine is generally the builder, the active in the physical department, the one that penetrates the emotional sense, the senses. It inserts, it penetrates that experience of the senses with offerings of itself. A man brings a woman flowers. He's penetrating her experiential reality and she responds to it. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. Those make me sneeze. I love the perfume of those. The colors just stimulate me. And so that's why, and it feels natural and it feels good to me. Overall, I have no contention with being in the human female form. What it looks like to be a female with fully integrated masculine and feminine, I don't know what that would look like, except for when I feel mostly in my power. So I had an experience in the awakening where a very masculine soul came in that was not intimidated by anything, that was not insecure about anything. And then I have an experience, more than one experience, of a very soft, comfortable, safe, warm, feminine experience. And it is my goal to merge those two because those feel the best to me. Now, whether this physical body ends up embodying just the warm, safe feminine so that it doesn't have to, what feels like, sacrifice itself to be that stronger, more physically confident and capable aspect. I don't know what's possible, or if it's just easier and it feels less of a sacrifice to the overall soul if there's a male embodying the more masculine aspects. But what I do know is on the twin flame journey that all of this processing, all of this work that I do, the masculine cannot help it. We're one body, one mind, one heart, one soul. Like the left side of the heart and the right side of the heart, it cannot help but change. So whether or not it changes and can be embodied in another human being, I don't know, because I haven't focused solely on that aspect. I'm just aware of the changes in the masculine and my various feminine aspects, how it responds and reacts to all the various masculine aspects, the little boys, the insecure ones, the overconfident ones, it's all being worked out in the subconscious. I cannot keep track of every detail, every relationship, every merging, every happily ever after. I became aware of two young ones, male and female, coming out of the forest hand in hand, but it hasn't been my overall experience, so it felt like it wasn't real and like somebody was lying to somebody, but they weren't telling everybody, making it known in my mind so that I can convey to other people how they resolved things down in the dark forest and came out, because there are things that you don't share because of judgment that would come from the outside and from other aspects of myself. So this is my understanding of the oversoul. And the other thing that I came in, the quickening. The oversoul and the quickening. I think I pretty much summed it all up. Big picture. And there doesn't have to be only one. In the end, that's the goal, is that there only be one vessel acting as, from the oversoul personality, individuated. But we aren't cutting each other's heads off.